Hey everybody, welcome back to Vito X Dino, the comic show that's about more than just comics. My name is Vito Delsante. His name is Dean Haspiel.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dean Haspiel.
Still, episode 24. What'd you do today?
I got up earlier than I usually do. What time do you think I get up? What time? I'll guess what your time, and then but you guess mine first.
I believe you get up at 10 a.m. usually.
I have, but I try to get out of bed by 9:30 the latest.
Okay.
Nine is would be nice, but sometimes it's 9:30. It's because I go to bed between 2 and 3 in the
Right.
morning.
Right.
And I'm gonna guess that you get up at 7:30 or 8.
That's correct. Usually 7:45, 8 o'clock.
Okay.
And it
Uh,
depends though, it also depends though, if the kids have school, if it like that's summertime hours. The kids have school, I get up at 7, 6:45, 7.
Right. I mean, again, parents, right? Holy
Yeah.
mackerel, changes everything.
Yep.
I got up at 7 a.m. today because I had to get a new refrigerator. My old one started to die. It was not. I noticed when I would put half a pint of ice cream in there, and then the next day it was soup.
You got a
I was like,
milkshake.
like that's and mint chocolate chip ice cream melted is not good. Okay, sorry. Um, but I was like, oh no, it's starting to die. And then things weren't that cold. And then like the milk would go bad earlier, kind of thing. So I was like, it still kind of had cold air in it.
Mhm.
But I was like, no, this is busted. And I can't afford a new fridge. And then there's a whole thing with the landlord. And then they get to pick out the fridge and then they can, charge you like $10 a month over 40 to 96 months or whatever it costs to pay it back,
Right.
kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to pick my own fridge. I'll pay for it now. So me and Jen went and found a GE type situation, the most affordable one. Ultimately came out to about 800 bucks, but we were looking at a lot of fridges that were like 1350 to 3000. I'm like, no, no. So anyway, and the reason why I got up at 7 a.m. It not because the window that we were given when they were going to deliver the fridge was between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. Okay. And I kept my phone on, and instead of turning off the sound, I kept it on for, a phone call or a text. No, I got a 7 a.m. text from a studio mate alerting me to getting tickets for a play this weekend. And I'm like, what are you, a farmer? Like, what? Why are you telling me this is 7 a.m.? And of course, what happens when you're nervous about, oh, a delivery coming, when are they going to text me? Then you're just up. You may be
Yeah.
lying in bed, but
Yeah.
you're not really sleeping anymore. So I'm on like 5 hours sleep. Although I did try to go to bed, I tucked myself in at 12:30 a.m. And of course, and I like to sleep to white noise. So I
Oh,
turned my white noise machine off so I could maybe hear the doorbell if the doorbell came for whatever, all this stuff.
uh-huh.
Plus, me and Jen were up like till like after midnight arranging. This is all boring stuff, but arranging like moving all my comics and CDs and movies and this and that like out of the hallway so a refrigerator could go in and out of it. And plus the corners in the kitchen that were all blocked. It was all a crazy mess.
You're on
I
like
got
the
too much stuff.
third floor, fourth floor?
Third floor,
Yeah.
third floor.
That's
Although what was
amazing.
amazing was so the guys that came up, right? They had like what looked like a big black tie or something, right?
Okay.
With like hooks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
it's insane. It's like it was like not like uh uh not chow what's the Singapore noodle, which is like a thin noodle, and it wasn't like a regular lo mein noodle. It was almost like chow fun, which is a broad noodle, right?
Yeah, it's like
So
a
it's not like a tie, but a very thick tie, right?
it's like a
And
harness that they wear and they hook
it's a
underneath
harness.
and they just walk with it.
Yeah, they put it somehow underneath the fridge, and suddenly the fridge is like, woo, it's just like swinging between two humans. And holy mackerel, that looks so cool, man.
You almost want to
Anyway,
keep moving now, don't you?
what? Say that
You
again. I
almost
want to
want to
say,
get
yeah,
into.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's the thing though. Like, is that like being in the third floor walk up? You know, it's weird because that kind of harness you don't see very often out here
right.
anyway, because everybody's in like like barn houses. or whatever they're called, or they're called.
Right, right,
I mean,
right. So you don't see these devices that are these incredible ways of like protecting, I guess, the person who's doing the lifting, right?
yeah,
I'm sure there's all kinds of things that make it so that you're not breaking your back or your knees, you
but
know?
like it used to be that like these jagoffs would like just use a dolly and just go up steps. Like, like, are you kidding me? You
Right,
can't do that. So it's
right.
like it's funny how necessity breeds invention.
Oh, absolutely, man. And it was so, I learned something new that was really cool. I thought it was, it was exciting in a weird way, but also it's because I was probably so tired that anything would look amazing
Oh,
to me, you
oh,
know?
wow. Ropes. Ropes help people.
How are you doing, by the way?
I'm all right. Three Rivers Comic Con was last weekend. Uh,
Hmm.
and it was a good time. I hung out with Don Simpson. I didn't get a chance to talk to Jim Rugg. He was always
Mm.
busy, and like he was like weirdly over by the bathroom, and like not near the like not like right outside, but like just like shortly like a 5 or 6 steps away from the men's room. And as much as like every time and I only went like once or twice to the bathroom, so I didn't get to see him that often. But like but I got to see Don. I got to talk to Don Simpson, who was on our show recently.
Yep.
I spoke to Sora Sung, who is an artist that does a lot of like she's like a good girl artist, I guess you would call her.
Hmm. Hmm.
She's wonderful. She and Michelle are very tight.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
Sammy Castillo, who is a painter in her own right, she's there. She's like I call her my little sister because every time I see her, she just like looks out for me and stuff. Um, and John Engel and Todd McDevitt, who Tom McDevitt owns New Dimension Comics. John Engel runs New Dimension Comics, and they also run the show. So I got to see them, and like the funniest thing is, every year there's like a video game section.
Hmm.
There's a section where people are playing video games. It's small, usually something local. And this year there was this brother, two brothers, who they're gonna have a video game lounge somewhere in the area, and James just took to them right away. He saw like they had a Switch 2, and he started playing video games, and like he went there the second day. James never, like James is very reticent to, you know, be forthcoming and be outgoing,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
video games is his thing. So he was there.
Mm. Well, I mean, video games, I think for the youth has been the thing for a while. I don't like to say that comics compete with movies because I don't think that's true necessarily. And a franchise comic book series that yields a movie, you would think they would work in some kind of conjunction so when the movie comes out, that it might spark interest in
Right.
the viewer of the film to go seek the comic book out and not get Fantastic Four number 1211, but actually they haven't even cracked 1,000 yet,
I was
but
gonna say,
you know what I mean, like instead, and then like find like, oh, a collection, a cool mini series, something for the film viewer,
right.
as it were.
I think
But I do think that games, what games do is it makes it immersive, right? And you can dictate the story a little bit, right?
yeah, we talked about this on one of our earlier episodes, and like we
Hmm.
were talking about how comics don't compete with comics. I don't think compete with anything. Comics are their own thing, and the thing is, they used to be this highly visible medium, excuse me, that you would find just about everywhere. I would venture to say that the advent of the graphic novel and the trade paperback kind of, I wouldn't say killed the comic industry, but kind of made it so that you don't need to go to a comic store or a newsstand to find comics. You can go to a bookstore, and you don't have to feel like you're lost in like a world of back issues. You can just go to a bookstore. Here's Daredevil. I'm going to buy this, and then just be on your way. Whereas, and I think manga does that too. Manga, you can get a Shonen Jump, which is an anthology magazine with like 7 titles or whatever, or you can wait for the trade, which is like the little manga size collections, and you can go either way. But I don't think Shonen Jump and comic books are the same thing. anthologies don't work in American comics for some reason. Um, there are exceptions. Solo, which I think was a critical darling, but maybe not a um, financial success. But we've been talking a lot about the uh, the one man anthology recently, like the self made anthology.
Oh, with Bob Fingerman, we were talking to
Yeah,
him about him wanting to do a one man, and then Dan Clowes famously did Eight Ball, and there have been other one mans. Me and Josh Neufeld did a two-man anthology with Keyhole, and I've actually been considering that myself. Like, I know I want to do a couple more sequels to some of the comics I've been doing, but ultimately, I think I want to arrive at, oh, here's the done in one. Oh, I mean, again, we'll mention him again. Who's the guy? Black
Rich
Phoenix.
Tommaso.
Yeah, Rich Tommaso. You just mentioned anthologies, which are hard to do.
Mhm.
And you know that I'm co-curating and co-editing a anthology that has not been announced yet.
Right.
I also am curating and editing a comic section for a local paper here in my neck of the woods called, let me grab it, uh, the Red Hook Star Review.
Oh, cool.
All right.
All
And
right.
that's where I'm going to be doing a Red Hook comic strip. And I'm not going to announce yet who I've roped in to be a part of the page that I'm curating. We'll save that for, soon.
Mhm.
But you did mention anthologies, and I recently discovered and ordered an anthology that is co-edited and curated by Sammy Harcum
Yes. Yeah.
and Stephen Weissman. Do you remember Stephen
I
Weissman?
do. I do. I love Stephen Weissman's old
Stephen
stuff.
Weissman's amazing. So check out this comic. I know it's primarily an audio thing that we do here, but we also have the YouTube. So
Yeah.
it's called Peep.
Okay.
It's a nice big treasury
Wow. Look at the
size.
size of that thing. That's like a so good. There, menstruation. Does it say? Did that just say menstruation?
It's menstruation.
Ah, I
It's
love
it's
it.
about being friends with your period.
Oh, I love it.
See you next month. Um, we got so many cool people in here, including Vanessa Davis. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm able to
Is it
show you, but
who puts this out? This looks
so
like
I
a So Fantagraphics book, but it's not, right?
but it's not. I think an art gallery puts it out because it came with like a sticker. But just
Is
look
that
out
Brunetti?
first of
Is that Brunetti that I just saw?
all.
Like a one
For many,
pager? Ivan
well,
Brunetti.
this is Gabrielle Bell we're looking at right now. And
Uh,
actually, I have not read the whole thing yet, but I'm forgetting who this is. It almost looks like it's Muck and well, it's also kind of hypersexual, some of it.
sure.
But I mean, look how beautiful it is. Like, and it's making me want to do there's Ben Catcher. I want to take like a year or two to curate and collect nice size one pagers. I mean, look how many panels are on these pages, right?
Yeah.
Maybe one or two pages or whatever the story, needs, and then eventually put out some like really cool, anthology like this, because as much as they're difficult to sell, they're some of my favorite things, like Raw
Yeah.
magazine. We've talked
Yeah.
about this, right?
I
The
find
art
it
of the anthology. Look at
I
that.
find it sad that you not you, but like as a publisher, you can't put something like this out. This is a risk for a publisher.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
like an art gallery doing it is very interesting. And also like a creator doing it, like Marty would be the guy that I would think could do something like this on his own. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
well, Monty as a one man, I think him curating, and I'm sorry, I would say this to Monty to his face.
Uh-huh.
I think he's such a one man show
Yeah.
that and he hyper focuses, which is I think part of why he's successful at what he does.
Hmm.
By the way, look at this. This is I don't know if this is a reprint of an old Spain Rodriguez comic.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's really cool, and I want to say does it say in here, published by Brain Dead in Los Angeles. Yeah, Sammy Harkman and Stephen Weissman are the editors. And I'm trying to remember how I got this. Was it online? Maybe it was through an art gallery online okay. ACD Gallery. Here's a sticker.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have to look them up. Maybe they're like the ones who were handling, how I got the book. And I don't know how they did this. I don't think it was crowdfunded. I just, and I forget how I learned about it. But when I got it in the mail, all it did was make me think, oh my God,
Yeah.
Even though I'm working on anthologies right now, this like was this kind of artsy fartsy anthology is really fun.
You know what is interesting to me is that I don't know how to say this without sounding uh, absolutely ignorant of the topic or of sounding um, like I'm casting aspersions on someone else. But
Right.
how is it that something like that can exist and the first thing you think of is it's a curated art piece? Do you know what I mean? And yet, whenever you did, like, say, what was the name of the
Superior, Project
Project
Superior
Superior? Thank you.
with Ad House.
Yeah, like Project Superior did not do as well, and it was an indie version of basically what we do, like superheroes, but not quite. Like I don't understand. The audience is so fickle sometimes. It's hard to really.
It's the packaging. It's who's involved in it, right? If I'm involved in it and because I'm superhero adjacent or, I'm Marvel DC adjacent, suddenly it takes me out of the ball game a little bit. Like I'm not pure indie, you
But
know?
but Project Superior had James Jean involved in it,
It had
which
a lot of people. So
yeah,
so it had I was able to rope in, I got John Cassaday to create his own,
that's right.
superhero, a 5 page or whatever the hell. Like, I believe it was we were having a conversation because I think he did was it Project Robot or something or
Hmm.
he did like a romance one, a robot one, and then I was like it would be really cool to get indie guys. And I think maybe I was inspired by Kuber Skiber. Do you remember that book,
I do.
Kuber
I
Skiber?
do.
And then of course Marvel and DC did their versions of it with Bizarro and Strange Tales, right? So it's a thing and it'll happen again. And I've been involved in a bunch of those. And yeah, I guess the restraint or constraint was it has to be semi superhero in some way,
Mhm.
like Project Superior. And I do believe it did ultimately sell out and do really well to
Right.
the point where I was like, go back to print. Chris Pitzer, the publisher, and
Uh,
he didn't want to do it.
right.
I think he just wanted to keep it what it was, and he probably didn't want to deal with the hassle of being a publisher. This might have been when he was starting to slowly, end his publishing, time, which is a shame because he published so many great comics.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you get out on top. You retire undefeated. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Um, I've often like when I was handling editorial at Action Lab, I had wanted to do something. I wanted to curate a line that was very similar to not necessarily an anthology, but like titles that would have been things that you would have met or like been introduced to in a book like Project Superior. Like I wanted to do there was one anthology I wanted to do when I was working with Rachel Freire, who
Mm.
was the artist on FCHS, which was originally picked up by Ad House and Chris Pitzer, got canceled, and then we because of low sales. But now that company that canceled it doesn't even exist anymore. So who the hell knows anymore? Talking about Diamond. Um, but
Yeah.
anyway, Rachel and I were trying to put together an anthology, and it was like superhero romance stories. I forget what we were going to call it. And it had nothing to do with the superhero part, but it's like, let's just see these superheroes in their natural habitat of like trying to couple with somebody, that kind of thing. And like just something silly and goofy, like I love and rockets. I love Jaime Hernandez. I love uh all that stuff. Like Stephen Weisman's a name I haven't heard in so long. I'm so glad you brought him up. Like now I kind of want to go back
And I'm
and
trying to remember the title of the comic that was like these kids, right? These
yeah, it
little
was like
kids.
I swear it was like Jinkies or something like that. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah,
Um,
look it up because like even I just now and Steven like I loved his comics so much. And then like what happens is you get older, you don't go to these indie shows anymore for a
right.
while, or 5 or 10 years go by, and then you're like, what happened?
Yeah,
Where'd
yeah.
they go? Kind of a thing. So and like
I was
go ahead.
close. I was close. Very close. Yikes was the one I was thinking of.
Yikes.
Not Jinkies. Uh,
Yes.
then there's also Don't Call Me Stupid, which the best title for anything. Um, the Kid Fire Chief was another good one that I remember.
Oh, I remember that.
Chewing Gum in Church was another good one. Yeah, I can't say enough. You know what's funny about his artwork and and Dan Clowes. Maybe not Dan, but Adrian Tomine. Like
Mhm.
I had always looked at their work and thought, being a cartoonist can't. I'm such an idiot. Rich Tommaso is another one. Being a cartoonist isn't that doesn't look like it could be that hard. There's not like they're not doing all this cross hatching. They're not doing all this stuff. Like a Jim Lee or a Brian Hitch or something. And like I'm like I could probably learn at some point to get to like the simplified style and and draw like this, or something adjacent to it. God damn it. No, I cannot. like,
It it's
like,
so much harder to do
yeah, yeah,
to do the less is more, let's call it, where the lines you're leaving out and then the ones you keep in, and yet it's really difficult. I mean, I remember Charles Schultz, right? Peanuts.
yeah.
Like apparently to do Charlie Brown's head is nearly impossible to draw like Charles Schultz. It's like so difficult, it's very specific. And then that little squiggle of hair,
Hmm.
yeah, it's not just an oval, and everybody can try to do it, and you'd be like, oh my God, I can't draw Charlie Brown correctly. Then you might as well just do your own thing. Like, you ever see Jack Kirby's Mickey Mouse?
No, yes, I have.
It's kind of horrifying in a way. It's amazing because it's like he can't help himself, but
Right.
it's also crazy looking. It's almost like a monster, you know? Or just like what's his name, Michelangelo. Apparently, the way he got the Sistine Chapel when they were auditioning artists is that everybody came in and they were flexing and doing all this really cool, and he just went and in front of, I guess, the Pope or whoever, just drew a perfect circle, and they're like, "You got the job."
Yeah, it's hard to deny at that point. Um, I mean, we just dropped a bunch of names. Another cartoonist I want to mention. I haven't seen anything new from him in a while, but Stephen Manali. Do you remember Steve?
No.
Yeah, he's a Canadian cartoonist. He used to draw these really like awesome mini comics. He was friends with Cameron Stewart and Ramon Perez and like all those guys. That's how I met him through those guys. Through the
You said Steve Manelli?
Manale, Manali. Yeah.
A-L-E. Artist,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, and
Quickly look.
it's funny. Like I have a piece of his art somewhere here because when Sadie was a baby, there was a show in Brooklyn in a basement. You were there, and he was there, and like he drew a picture of Sadie on a card.
Oh, that's so cool.
So I
Yeah, I'm
have,
looking at his art right now. He has a comic called I Met Stan Lee. He actually looks familiar. I definitely met him.
yeah, yeah, I know you've met him. But yeah, like I just a bunch of cartoonists you guys should all check out.
Oh, he looks cool, man. Is he a New
Yeah.
Yorker or
Oh, Toronto.
Toronto? Oh,
Yeah,
okay. In fact, didn't they just do TCAF last weekend in the same as
I
Three
think so.
Rivers?
Yeah, I think so.
So I meant to ask, while you were at Three Rivers,
Mhm.
and since you're a writer and you probably have some books, what were you pimping or what were you
Absolutely nothing.
mm,
I had nothing to sell. Steve Bearfield, who stopped by, and we were talking. He also mentioned that he wants to be the first fan guest of the show. So like we got to maybe
awesome.
work that together. But
Yeah.
Steve bought a couple of issues he didn't have of Stray that I had, and a couple of pins. So that was really all I had. I was like, like my show is Baltimore when I, try to go all out, and then I bring everything to Pittsburgh the next year, and I think I have to start like one of these days we should have a convention conversation. We don't really can't do it today because you have to go do something, but
Right.
but yeah,
I
I
did actually have a convention conversation with Carrie Sanders
yeah,
on her friend's podcast, whose name escapes me right now. I want to say it's more of a horror podcast that they do more horror stuff, and they were talking about like how to prepare, and they wanted me to talk about, well, what do I have to do as a guest?
yeah,
And so I had this whole thing, but we should definitely let's table this for now.
yeah.
But let's have the topic. And I love the idea of having a quote fan on the show that we talk to. Conan O'Brien does that,
That's I
and
think
that's a lot of fun.
that's where we got
And
the
we appreciate our fans. You said I think you told me that some people talked about the podcast, listening to the
yeah,
podcast.
DJ Kaufman.
DJ, yep,
Like
yep.
like one of the first things he said to me was like, you guys are great. Like I love listening to you guys. So So yeah,
DJs. We should have DJ on the show at some point. You know.
definitely. He's doing something right now that's very interesting, very I don't know anything about, not that I don't know anything about it, but it's such an interesting way of doing comics that I can't explain it. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a weird we're gonna have to have him on because like I think only he can
Well, I
explain.
want to see what you're talking about, man. And like, yeah, we should definitely have DJ on it, and he should send us some stuff. And we can talk about it.
Yeah,
We also need to acknowledge a couple other things, and then I have some topics, and you might as well.
yeah,
It's our 24th episode,
yeah.
and I know at 8, 16, 18, 21. Is there anything with 24? I do have a
Kiefer
thing I
Sutherland.
think about. I was
Kiefer
going to say
Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland, right?
It's like
Kiefer
24 hours in a
Sutherland.
day. Yeah, there's not a there's no milestone age wise for 24.
Right.
24
So,
what's funny is I think I remember growing up that 24 was 2 years after you graduated college, typically without, going into medical or any kind of advanced degree. And so it was about the time, that our parents and, like the earlier generation, maybe the boomers, would start having families.
oh, at 24. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, also, like, I think people are getting older before deciding to have kids.
Yeah.
And so, hello. So
Yeah.
when your child is like 18, you look like, a grizzled old man nowadays. But when you were younger, you still look young. And,
When
you
Jane
know,
is 18, I'll be 60.
wow.
Yeah.
Yep. 60-year-old man.
Yeah.
And wait, how many years is that?
From now,
Yeah.
it's going to be 10. So,
10 years. So we're 10 years, right, right. We're 10 years in. So anyway, real quick about 24. I loved that show so much. And so did my mom. And it was one of the shows that we bonded on, right? Uh, and I remember there was a season, and I think we watched it. Well, I know we watched it together, and I'm not thinking, well, I usually watch the show, I think no, it might have been a case that I was waiting for the DVD or something.
oh,
I
okay.
forget what channel was it on. Do
It
you
was on Channel
remember?
5. It was on Fox.
It was. So it's possible that I was watching it on DVD for some reason. Okay. But the point is, my mom at the time lived in the Catskills. She's in Florida now. And we devoted a whole week to watching because it was 24 hours, 24 episodes.
Right.
We watched 24 hours. It was like the middle of summer, beautiful Catskill Mountains. I should be outside playing and chasing butterflies and everything. But no, we literally painted the windows black, pulled out all the clocks, just had food, and we watched like, I don't know, however many episodes a day. And it might have been like a 4 or 5 day kind of marathon. And I'll never forget watching like whatever season it was of 24 with my mom, where we dedicated all our time and like we talked to no one. It was just Kiefer Sutherland the entire time, which is insane. Have you ever done anything like that with a parent?
No, like I think I learned my lesson when my mom and I watched Monsters Ball.
Oh, oh,
Yeah.
oh
And I was like,
no,
nah, this is
nope.
I used to go to the movies with my mom, like when I moved back to New York in '93. I used to go to the movies. We saw like What's Love Got to Do with It, the Tina Turner movie, and like
Right,
I
right,
would go and rent movies and we would watch movies and stuff. And
right,
then that movie came. And I
right.
watched another movie with my mom that wasn't a cartoon.
Oh my God. I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan, I think with my dad.
Mm.
And like
Wow.
that first scene,
Yeah, yeah.
after the big war, the first
Normandy.
war scene, I'm
Normandy.
already crying. I'm like, I'm not a man. I could never be a man. Whatever the hell I was thinking at the time. Everyone's crying and freaking out. I was like, this is torture. This is trauma. But my dad and the type of person he is, and this will illustrate a kind of an awful story. I was started dating this girl who basically reminded me of Linda Carter, Wonder Woman. Like she's bombastic, beautiful, really cool, smart, a dancer, SUNY Purchase.
Mm.
And I was coming back home and she was going to meet my dad, right? So my dad like says hello and everything. And within a couple of minutes, because he's a provocateur, he's like, "Oh, have you seen the Rob Lowe video?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" What's the Rob Lowe video? He's like, oh, I'll show you guys.
Oh my God.
And he starts playing this bootleg video of Rob Lowe basically having sex
Yeah.
with like a giant dick and everything. And I'm just sitting there going, what the fuck, Dad? Like, why are
What,
you doing this to me?
wasn't like the controversy? Wasn't the girl underage or something like that?
Oh, probably. But all I was thinking is, why is my dad showing me and my new
Girlfriend.
girlfriend a porno film? What are we supposed to be doing with that right now? Like, oh, that's cool. What's for dinner?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like,
Time to go.
oh my God. Anyway, that's my dad. Well, and plus many other things.
Happy
But yeah, so
Father's Happy
24, happy
Father's Day ahead of
24.
time because that's Sunday.
Another thing, and I think, okay, you're allowed. Let's do this. I'd like to do this game where we say something at the same time.
Okay.
Name a person in 3 seconds. I'll say one, two, three. Name a person that died this week. That
Oh,
that
okay.
we know. Ready? One, two, three.
Brian
Sly
Wilson.
Stone. I knew it. I knew it. I knew you'd
Well,
say Brian Wilson.
I knew you were going to say Sly Stone, so I was just like, let me just
Okay, there you go.
the
All
other
right.
one.
But oh my God, Sly Stone and Brian Wilson, I
Yeah,
think back to back,
yeah.
right?
It's unreal. Like I like Sly Stone. What's weird is that like Sly Stone died, and it was like there's a part of you that's like, wow, he was still alive. Like good for him. Um, and then like you're just like, man, what a terrible, not a terrible life, but what a hard life he had. You know,
Yeah.
like he started like when here's all the stuff I found out this week about Sly Stone. Started out singing gospel music. His parents were musicians in a church. So he started out singing gospel music when he was 14. At about 17, 18, I think he dropped out of school. I'm not sure if it was college or high school. Started being a soul music DJ in San Francisco. And at some point, he was like, I want to make music. And he started, and his brother had a band, and they combined bands and they became Sly and the Family Stone. Like, and I've never heard a bad Sly and the Family Stone song.
No, they're all incredible. He's one of my top five, singer, songwriter, musicians of all time. The music's impeccable and like it literally does take you higher, you
Mhm.
know. And even when he went solo, because he was breaking up with his quote family in a lot of ways because of drugs and all his bad behaviors,
Mhm.
he still wrote great songs. One of my favorite songs he ever did solo is a song called My World.
Mhm.
Definitely check it out. It's called My World. Um, and then I heard once a story about I think it was on it's a riots going on. I think was the name of the
Yeah,
album
yeah.
or something like that. And years later, when like real music aficionados and like analysts and nerds were like, how did he achieve that certain sound? It was like, what are you talking about? It was a very syrupy kind of funk that he had, like in his music. And they would get the negatives, the original tapes, right, that he would record on. And there was only so many kind of, I guess, levels within the tape that you could record or something. And what he would do, not inadvertently, but I don't think he knew this was going to happen. What he would do is he'd hang out, be Sly Stone in the clubs, pick up a chick. Oh, you want to sing on my album, my new album? Come over. He'd record on the master this one aspect of them singing some backup vocal, right? Have sex with them, go out the next night, meet a new girl, do the same
Wow.
shtick, have them record. And it was the erasing of that track on the whatever
But
back and forth so many times that it literally stretched the master in a certain way that created this sound that nobody knew how he was getting. But I don't even think he was trying to do that. It
no,
just
no.
happened that way.
I like the thing I get from his music, other than like joy, is the best word I can put on it, is that there are so many moving parts that when you compare it to, like, say, a Parliament Funkadelic, um, the parts that are, because you're both multi-layered and multi-tracks and ping-ponging on tracks and all these different producing techniques. The thing about Parliament Funkadelic that I think that Sly and the Family Stone doesn't do is that they're a little more experimental in terms of sound, meaning like what kind of sound can we get out of this guitar, or Bootsy, what kind of, bass,
Mm,
slapping the bass or picking, or, using a cello bow. Whereas Sly knew how to take the individual pieces of something and layer them. And that's pretty much what he was doing with that technique, is that
mm,
even though it's not necessarily stretching the tape out, what it's doing is it's an overdub and an overdub and an overdub and an overdub. And then it's just kind of distorting it, to the point where it's almost unrecognizable, but that's what gave it that sound on
hmm
the master. So
hmm
like,
You know the Beastie Boys song where I mean they sampled everyone, right? But there's one song with it's called Shadrach, I think,
yeah,
and I think the lyrics are Shadrach,
Meshach,
Meshach,
Abednego.
Abednego, which I think are the three wise men or something.
No, these are three friends of. Here comes Vito with his Bible learning. So in the Old Testament, during um, the time of David, after Goliath and everything, these were three of David's friends that were put into um, an oven, basically, and said, and like by whoever the Pharaoh was, or whatever king, and God said, "Fear not, for I am with you." We get the phrase "writing on the wall" from um,
Mm.
the same book in the Bible, and so God, like they didn't burn. All right, let's feed them to the lions. The lions laid down with them. That's where you get the phrase "the lions laying down with lambs," that kind of thing. So yeah, that's who those were. That's who they.
Wow. Well, I mean, the reason why I brought it up too, it means it's Sly Stone. That's from a Sly Stone song,
Is it
that sample. Yeah.
really?
And I believe,
Oh,
and yeah,
hey.
exactly.
I believe that's from.
Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, right? Like,
I don't know if that part is, but the
oh, the hay,
yeah, that I think is from not sing a simple song. It's
but
from
from another Sly
yeah,
Stone. And
yeah.
I believe, but just to speak to what you're talking about layering, just even those three words, they use that in a song and have them kind of collide and create a sound, like
Yeah.
it was chock a block, a lot of his music,
Well, you know what it is too is that like, like they could have easily done the Three Stooges, but they did these three obscure characters from the Bible, and they're
Right.
three guys, and so like they inhabit the anyway.
Three the hard way. And then and not to, you know, give Brian Wilson his props again, another person who had a difficult, you know,
Mental breakdown.
latter
Yeah.
years. By the way, see the Sly Stone movie documentary. It's really good. I watched it like a couple months ago.
I,
If you
to,
can,
to put a like a tribute to Brian Wilson, other than being one of the Beach Boys, other than being the father of two very talented women musicians, from Carney Wilson, and I forget her sister's name, but they were in that song, that band Wilson Phillips.
mm,
Phenomenal singers. Um, Brian Wilson just, I've never, you can say what you want about his mental breakdown or anything like that, sure. But the thing about him is kind of in the same vein that we're talking about with Sly Stone, is I've never, the amount of joy on a person's face just from music, like just from, like being around music, not, and then to be the guy that writes that music. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, I think he was very aware of his place in the rock and roll pantheon. I mean, Paul McCartney heard Pet Sounds and got jealous. Like what are the chances? And like, and it's so weird. Like you think about the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and they have such totally different sounds to them, and they were
mm,
competing. Like they were like in like a friendly competition. I would hope, but like one would put out one album, and then the other one like, nope, we're gonna do this, and then like it's just like, oh, and then they got to
mm,
go like one up and one up and one up, and there's a very good argument. I don't particularly subscribe to this argument, but I'm not far away from it. There's a very good argument that says "God Only Knows" by the Beach Boys is the greatest song ever written. I believe that the greatest song ever written is either "Be My Baby" by the Ronettes, or I vacillate between five or six different Supreme songs, or
Mm.
it could be "Ain't No Mountain High Enough." But God only knows it's definitely number four out of those four. You know what I mean? Like whatever the Supreme song is, then Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell, then the Beach Boys. I think those four are the top four songs ever made.
I would also, because they all sound very religious in some ways, and I'm not religious, but I am I am spiritual, let's call
Mhm.
it, right? And so God only knows, for someone who's not that religious, I feel like I am closer to God when I hear that
Oh my
song,
God, that song! Like,
Um, and then also there's another song, Hallelujah,
mm,
by God, there's so many iterations of Hallelujah, but whenever I hear that,
yeah,
I'm
that's
always like, wow, that's pretty amazing
why can't I
too. And
think of
that's not a Brian Wilson song. I forget who did it, but a bunch
uh,
of people.
Jeff Buckley's the one that I heard recently.
Jeff Buckley is definitely up there. And I wonder if oh God, what's the name? Cohen, something Cohen. He's
Leonard
very
Cohen. Leonard
Leonard
Cohen.
Cohen. Yeah, very grizzled, kind of, he does some very like deep kind of post-apocalyptic kind of, you
Yeah,
know.
I'm not a big Leonard Cohen fan. I think if I wanted to listen to something like Leonard Cohen, I'd listen to Marianne Faithfull. Uh,
Oh, okay.
like just I don't know why, but like when she uses that kind of like guttural voice, like it moves me.
Right, right.
Like it moves me to like chills or tears.
Well, now I got to ask the question because I don't. I mean, I get some comics once in a while. You've been reading New Gods still or not? Speaking of
I
God,
haven't picked up my comics in about uh 6 weeks. Like so,
okay,
they're waiting for me. That's why I haven't sent you anything because I haven't read anything. I
okay,
don't have anything yet. But like, yeah, I'm
okay.
still invested in it. I just I have to get to the comic store.
Yeah, I'm just curious where it's going. And then today, Tom King announced that he's writing or show running the Mr. Miracle cartoon that DC is now going to be producing.
Yeah.
So, and it's based, somewhat on his Mr. Miracle with Miss Gerard. So I'm excited to see that. Couple of topics. I don't know if you have any on hand, but I have two.
Okay, good. I wanted to talk about Brian Wilson and Sly Stone. So I mean,
Oh no, awesome. I'm glad we got to that. So, well, let's keep within the God realm a little
okay.
bit. And so I had asked you, which I'll ask you again here on the podcast. Before we do that, let me set it up. So I don't know what happened. I was reminded of Mel Brooks' History of the World Part One,
Yes.
right? And that funny scene where he plays Moses, and he gets the word from God, and he goes and he goes, I don't know, into a cave. He comes back out of a cave with three tablets,
Time
and he
out.
goes,
He went to
"What?
Mount Sinai, man.
Wait,
He
what do you
went
mean
to
Mount
he
Sinai?
went to the top of Mount Sinai, the actual Mount Sinai.
Oh, I thought Mount Sinai was just a hospital. That was
No, it's
also.
named after you
You're
know,
gonna have to give me little Bible lessons, man.
for being such a Jack Kirby fan and being part Jewish, you're you're terrible,
I'm terrible. I'm awful. I should be
man.
lashed or something, right? Or is that what they do? They hurt
Oh,
you. They
oh.
anyway.
Did
Oh,
someone hurt you?
show
Anyway,
show me on the doll where God touched you.
show me in
No,
the comic where God hurt you.
where God hurt you. So no, all right. So Mel Brooks comes out, three tablets,
Hmm.
and he says, I have 15, and he drops one, it crashes to the ground. He goes, 10. I have 10 commandments, right?
Right.
That's all funny, but actually it begs the question, and I actually wrote this in my newsletter and I wrote some answers.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask, what are your five lost commandments?
Okay, so let me go through the 10 so people are because everyone's probably more like Dean than like me. They're both spiritual, but not really. I'm not
And
religious.
there are two that I'm conflicted with, which we'll talk about. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is paraphrasing. This isn't word for word. First one, no other gods. Two, don't worship false idols. Three, don't take the Lord's name in vain. Four, remember the Sabbath. Five, honor your father and mother. Six, don't murder. Seven, no adultery. Eight, no stealing. Nine, don't bear false witness. 10, don't covet your neighbor's stuff, basically.
Oh, but okay, real quick. I thought that there was a thou shalt not kill, and then later on a thou
Number
shalt
six.
not murder.
No, I wrote don't murder. That's
Oh,
Just
but I thought that there were two separate ones. And
no.
then I was trying to figure out what's the difference between killing and murder. And I
So
thought about that. And I thought, oh, well, killing could be where you're self-defense or you're killing to eat or
no,
something.
no, it's
Whereas murder is like not necessarily premeditated,
thou
but
shalt not kill is just
it's
don't.
just the same
Yeah,
flat
same thing.
one. Okay.
But
All right.
but but you bring up a good point. So let's remember this is in the book of Exodus. This is the Old Testament. In the New Testament, there are two commandments. This is the argument that I always have against people that are anti-gay, anti-trans, and whatever. Like when you're Christian, you're supposed to be like Christ, and so you should not. Number one, you're not supposed to pass judgment on anybody because that's God's job, right? Number one,
Right.
if you're
Sure.
Christian, that's what I believe. Number two, um, these two there were two commandments that were given by Jesus in the New Testament. So Old Testament is now broken, and we go to the New Testament. So people that adhere to the Ten Commandments are basically forgetting that Jesus, died for your sins. He became the blood of the Lamb. He, all that stuff, and gave us two commandments. The two commandments are love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind, and two, love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm.
And so this is why, like, it drives me crazy when there's any kind of bigotry used in God's name because there's not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, with that in mind, my five.
Now, do you want to trade one? Do we go back and forth?
No, I'm
Or
gonna
do you want
read
to do
mine.
yours in a
I'm gonna
row?
read mine
Okay.
because mine are probably not as entertaining as yours. Mine are kind of like these are kind of like legitimate attempts at
All
writing.
right, and before you say it, it's funny that you say that because when I asked that question to some people, um, I actually was confused with my own question, which was, are we talking about five real, like evergreen, or are we talking about five modern 2025 commandment,
Well,
type
and
stuff?
the thing is, like, you're thinking, all right, well, it's a Mel Brooks movie and he drops five. All right. So maybe they're inherently supposed to be funny. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but the other 10 wouldn't be funny. So I'm going to just
Right. Great. I love this.
be
Okay.
like, above board. So number 11, help those less fortunate or share your wealth is number 11.
Mm.
Number 12, and this one might be controversial, but number 12 is listen to children. And my point being that kids have this way of seeing the world that I think we forget as adults. So I think we should listen to children more.
That's beautiful.
Number 13, behold God's glory. In other words, go out into nature, enjoy, not so much touch grass, but like enjoy the ant. Last night, for the sake of this conversation, last night I was sitting on the porch. There was a deer, like a young buck with like antlers just sprouting. They're still fuzzy, eating by the tree. I had three cats watching it. I had a turtle that I rescued from the highway, and then there was a couple of birds in the yard, and I'm like, I'm in a zoo. like, what just happened? So, but like that's behold God's glory. That's
Oh,
one.
I love that. I love that.
Number 14, never stop learning. Like I think the problem with us is that even like if you think about it in terms of the Bible, we were given this word, we read it, we live it, but we never. But I don't think that's the end of it. We have to keep learning. We have to keep practicing. We have to
Keep an open mind.
keep making mistakes. Keep going
Yes.
over stuff. So I think never stop learning. And then number 15, I just took love your neighbor as yourself and put that into number 15.
Got it. Got it. No, I think those are really, really important. It's funny because the one about when you said, you're in a zoo,
Oh, yeah.
which I love when I'm out in nature. I
Mhm.
do replace God with nature,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, and
Uh,
some people say the universe will tell you, and that's just another way of saying God, or
sure,
another way of saying Buddha, or whatever. Like Allah.
sure.
Like I don't.
No,
I'm not one of those zealots that can't see the benefit of other people's religions or their belief systems or anything like that. I believe that we all um, aspire to be divine,
hmm
always fail because we're not
hmm
divine, but the aspiration of it is what makes us human and beautiful and worth life, basically.
Well, and I think that those are the good, important lessons. I do think I felt like one of the commandments, the original commandments, might have been like you're not allowed to have other gods or worship other gods? Or was that,
Yeah,
which I always thought, well, like,
don't worship false idols. But the thing is, it's like, you think about it at the time when he's actually getting the Ten Commandments down at the foot of Mount Sinai. There are the Israelites worshiping a golden calf. Like,
right,
so he's
right,
getting the commandments from God. And down
right,
here, there's a party going on. Like,
right, right, right.
so like, it's almost like God's like, hey, looking over his shoulder, go, hey, tell them, don't do that.
Oh, interesting. That's
So,
see the context is interesting to hear it in that way. Mine are, I'll keep it quick because I was trying to be funny, and yet also I do feel this way. So,
profound.
my 15, I guess I'll say 11
Mhm.
is thou shalt not talk out loud and or engage your smartphone whilst watching a movie in public. Come on. 12, thou shalt not blow smoke or vape into one's open olfactory. And that was a hard one to figure out how to say because obviously I'm not a smoker and I hate when people smoke in my face.
Uh,
And it's funny because like I remember going to bars and everyone would be smoking inside a bar.
yeah.
And then there was a new law. We had to smoke outside the bars. I was like, great, I'll go into a bar and I won't have all the smoke in my body and in my lungs when I go home. And I just have to walk through it, at the front door. But now, when you have these open spaces or backyards, there's the bar, and then I want to go get some fresh air, and I can't because everyone's smoking in the backyard or whatever. So you
Uh,
can't really. But the vaping thing pisses me off more because people who vape think that, oh, this isn't a cigarette.
and they also think they're getting away with like
And they
good.
think they're getting away with it, and yet they blow smoke. You're in a subway car that's trapped in between stations, and you're vaping, and dude, you're smoking. All right,
I
cut it
don't,
out.
I could not recognize New York less. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I've been on cars where people are like literally like legit smoking a cigarette,
yep.
or smoking a
Oh,
joint.
that happens too, man. I mean,
Sure,
there's
sure.
so much
But like
stuff that happens.
vaping on the subway, like, come on, man.
Cut it out.
Go
Cut it
back to
out.
Connecticut.
Thank you. 13, thou shalt not impede one's clear travel path. That goes double for e-bikes. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Yeah.
like I'm riding my bike over the Brooklyn Bridge or Manhattan Bridge or even down the street, whatever, and e-bikes are zooming all over you. In fact, they're trying to like make it 15 miles per hour, which I'm like also, well, how are you gonna figure that out? Like, okay, you went above 15, but you have a radar now, and
Right.
they're doing all kinds of stuff. They're trying to make bikes like cars these days in terms of the law, and you have to stop at every light. I get it. I understand the law, but I feel like as a biker, just like as a pedestrian, you have a little bit of wiggle room if you're being smart and cool about it.
Well,
Obviously, there are jerks out there that mess it all up,
what's funny
So,
is that law sounds, or that commandment sounds like typical New Yorker dealing with tourists.
oh,
Like,
that too.
don't
Well,
stop
also
in the
with
middle of
city
the
bike.
yeah,
Oh, absolutely. And city bikes are begging for tourists to use it,
sure. That's the point.
And then the joke is you're paying for a bike a lot more than if you just owned a bike that way, number one. And I understand the ease and the comfort of it sometimes
Hmm.
and how it helps. But now you're creating all these laws. What's next? We have to wear a seatbelt to ride a bike? Anyway, 14. Thou shalt not force one's preferred diet upon another or shame them for ordering their favorite meal every time.
Vegans.
So to me, it's like someone says, hey, I'd like to invite you to dinner. We're having a dinner party.
Yeah.
And you get there and they have made everything you hate. But they didn't ask you, what do you have any dietary restrictions?
Right.
What do you like? Maybe I make something like that. And there are people who love to force their diet on you or their menu,
I'll
you
give
know?
you I'll give you a for instance from my own life. I was the bane of every Christmas Eve dinner with my Italian side of my family. Why? What do Italians eat on Christmas Eve, Dean?
I don't. Spaghetti.
Fish.
I was going to say fish, which I'm not.
Because of the seven fishes. It's
Oh, duh. Okay.
I
Right.
don't eat fish. So
Me neither.
one of my aunt, God rest her soul, because she passed away last year, had to go through the trouble of making chicken parm just for Vito.
Oh, my man. I love chicken parm,
But but
But you know
but
what? But that shows love.
yeah, I was going to say
Sorry.
that's how much does she love me though?
That's right. No, that's all. I mean, I was invited. Jen knew this guy who would throw dinner parties.
Hmm.
And I was like, well, tell him I don't eat fish and mushrooms, right? Like I just hate mushrooms, right? And like I don't want anything. And you're the same. And she's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm sure it'll be fine. He'll have something. What did he serve? Fish and mushroom, like literally just mushrooms and fish. And I'm like, and I was polite. I actually ate it, but I was also like, and I didn't like it. But also I was like, Jen, this is why I think it's okay to say what you don't eat. I think it's not rude. Anyway, that's something we debate about all the
Number
time. And then
15.
15 is thou shalt not assume that just because you could means you should.
I'm shocked that you did not put something about spoilers. Thou
Uh,
shalt not ruin the end of movies, TV shows until
you know
everyone.
what? I might have to replace one of those, or maybe I'm going to do another five. Absolutely. Thou shalt not spoil the ending to any story. And did you see Sinners? Did we talk about that?
I haven't seen it yet. It just came
Okay.
out on video on demand, so I'm probably going to download it
So
today.
I was worried about people spoiling it because everyone's talking about it. I'm not going to spoil it here.
I
Well,
don't
the
know anything
spoiler,
about it. I think
this,
it's something about vampires, but I have no idea.
that's all you need to know. In,
Oh,
in terms of spoilers, that's it.
yeah,
I'll tell you my one word review. It's an expensive black exploitation film.
I love it. I'm already there.
There you go. So it's fun. I didn't think it was the best movie ever made. Whatever, it's fine. It's good. All right, I'm
I
glad
did
we got
watch.
through that.
I did watch Becoming Led Zeppelin on Netflix.
Oh,
Led Zeppelin was one of my dad's favorite bands, and so I have
awesome.
I have an affinity for. My dad is not with us, everyone, just in case that's not clear. My dad passed away when I was 15 years old. Funny enough, Father's Day coming up on Sunday. Um,
Oh, that's
by the
right.
way,
Hello.
funny enough, this will come out on my birthday. This episode.
Oh, on Monday.
Yeah,
If I'm 58, you're going to be 48,
no,
49.
52.
Wait, I thought we were 10 years difference. We're
No,
not.
we're six. I thought we were eight, but we're six.
Oh, okay. 52. Well, that's fine, man. You're
Oh,
still shy.
I'm not worried. I mean, I got to lose weight, but that's about it.
You're a mere pup.
Yeah,
Um,
but
well, I wanted to end maybe on, and I can go a little bit later than thought, but so, and I have mixed feelings about this, and I'll try to understand. I'll try to figure out why. It's been announced that Disney and Universal are suing Midjourney.
oh boy,
Now, Midjourney is an AI program,
an
right?
AI image generator, yes.
And
And
I guess,
I actually use it
uh-huh.
with like a lot of the designs that and I wouldn't like I got to preface this by saying I would never use an AI image generator to publish, like I would never publish it as my
Mm,
own art. What I use it for is what I think is the intended use, and that is as a tool to give to an artist to say, how can, like, this is my initial idea. Let's now take it and interpret it as you will and I will. You know what I mean?
right.
There have been a couple of designs that I've been very happy with, and I'm like, you know what, this is pretty good as is. Just put your spin on it. And then like there are some designs that I've come up with that are not quite there, but we have something to jump off of. And I think the unfortunate part is, and I try to keep my stuff private so you can't use it. Like you can't train the AI off of my stuff.
Right.
I don't know if that's working or not, but I try to keep it so that it can't do that. But
Mm-hmm.
never know. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are always, like, if they can get my voting information, they can figure out a way around my parameters. Anyway,
No, and I think that's fair. Like you said, using it as a tool, and as long as I would hope that you and the artist are kind of like taking that and then further developing it in your
yeah,
own with your own skill
yeah,
sets, right?
yeah.
Um,
A very good example of this is Hemlock from my book Underboss. Uh,
okay,
we like I've sent you the pictures of them, because you're going to do a cover at some point.
right.
The pictures I've sent you are not AI generated. They're Matt Major's art, Lee Gaston's art.
Right.
But I started just from using um, the Midjourney prompt. Like I prompted it to come up with a picture of a guy in a black mask with a hemlock design on the mask, and that's
Mm-hmm.
it. And so we've
Mm-hmm.
taken that and we've actually made a character out of it.
No, and again, you're Frankensteining in a way,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So, and I have two thoughts because I just realized something else came up as I was thinking as we were discussing.
Hmm.
So, why? On the one hand, I'm like, great, yay! Some the big guns are actually pissed off, right?
Hmm.
But it takes the big guns to maybe move
Right.
the needle, right? And ironically, not that they're stealing from the creators of comics, for the Star Wars, well, not Star Wars, but well, yeah, Star Wars, because
Sure.
now there are canon Star Wars comics that are, sorry, the Star Wars comics that are part of the canon, right?
Hmm.
But obviously Marvel, DC, and all that, and all the other characters that are created by people like you and me at our art tables or on a piece of paper or whatever, and before all the technology that blew it all up. And so it's like it isn't until they feel like their money is
Right.
being stolen. It's okay if you throw us a couple of bucks and then you have a showrunner come in who knows how to make a TV show, right? Because the cartoonist doesn't necessarily know how to make a TV show, but suddenly their name is they're being touted because they know how to make a TV show, and a TV show will make more money for the company than the comic book will. So I do feel a little bit of like I get it. You're mad at Midjourney, but when the artists are mad at Midjourney, there's nothing we can fucking do but
No,
complain
no,
about
because they don't care about the artist. They only care about their IP.
their IP.
IP
Exactly.
is intellectual property. IP is money, and if
Right.
their IP is being infringed upon, then yeah,
Right.
they're going to get involved. Like they don't want,
Right.
it's funny. Like go on Midjourney, and like or go into the Midjourney Discord, and just type in like the idea of making a patriotic character, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just say I want to create my own patriotic character. Like yes, he wears red, white, and blue. Not Captain America. And you put that in the parameters, right? The first goddamn image you're going to see is of Captain America.
Of course.
Or like a Frankenstein weird looking,
Right.
star here, A here, wings, whatever. And it's
Right.
like you can't. And so I get why they're going after it and why they're doing
Right.
it, and they have every right to. It's not like
Right.
I
Right.
have no. I if Midjourney shut down tomorrow, I'll try to be a better artist. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
Not artists, and not these guys that think that they're AI artists. And like I don't
Right.
like. Have you seen that argument?
What the writer who's the artist because they know how to type a prompt?
Right.
I've heard that. You know what? That's for the future to decide. And actually,
Sure.
that's season 4 of Westworld, the TV show, was literally that. Was like that
Yeah.
the about people who write prompts very well and create these worlds, and then how that's all messed up as well, and it can be dangerous. So, but what's interesting? So, out of the blue, Connie Zastupel, Connie Zastupel, that's Quentin Tarantino's mom, right? Who I'm
Yes.
friends
Yes.
with, right? So she sends me a link to an article, uh, and I didn't read the whole thing because I feel like after a while the jargon kind of, I'm like, oh God, what's happening here? But the idea behind the premise was that somebody was starting to, or there was a company or something that was teaching or figuring out a way to poison your artwork so that places that do the
Got it.
AI generative. So what happens is that your artwork gets tagged. If it's Captain America, it says Captain America, Super Soldier, Marvel, whatever, all the things that describe a Captain America.
Sure.
But the idea is no, scrape that off of the tags to your image, right? And when you upload it and write stuff like, a lamp, cheese doodles, like, I don't know, dog shit, right? And like
Yeah.
it confuses. So when it steals or scrapes whatever, however it works,
Mhm.
and then someone's prompting Captain America or a patriotic hero,
They got to choose.
yours doesn't show up at all,
Mm,
or because it thinks it's cheese doodles now,
sure. That's
because of you
interesting.
poisoning the artwork, which is
Right.
interesting, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I want to just make sure that my stance is clear, because I know that, like, because I'm using it, I'm probably part of the machine that we are fighting against.
Right, right,
But again, like, I have no interest in publishing any of this. I have no interest and at one point, and when it was new, I was looking to do that. Like when it was like a new kind of technology that we had access to, I think I tried to do something that was very William H. Gibson. Not Gibson. Blade Runner. Was that Gibson?
oh Well, no, you mean who wrote the short story?
Yeah,
No,
the
it's
Android.
Philip K. Dick. Philip
Thank you.
K. Dick.
So like I tried to interpret Roy Batty's dream by using AI, which weirdly enough seems appropriate because he's a robot and it's AI anyway. And
Right.
it came out really well, and I actually saw it over the weekend when I was getting everything ready for the con, and like there's a point where I was like, this would be kind of cool, to do something like this, and then it's like, yeah, you're right. It's kind of um, the ethical implications of doing this are wrong, because yeah, you even if you try to use like public domain stuff, like an actor or something
Hmm.
to be this character or whatever, there's still something, inherently wrong about it. So again, I have I have a hard time saying that I'm using it for its intended use because I don't know what its intended use is other than to take over. You know what I mean? But, I don't want to I don't want to be mistaken, like I have no intention of doing anything.
Right. Right. Well, what you're saying is goes back to my commandment of the just because you could doesn't mean you should kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. You know?
You know, and the truth of the matter is maybe I should learn how to draw. Going back to Rich Tomaso, Stephen Weissman, and the guys we were talking about earlier.
Well, I'll give you a hot tip. So, like when I was working on the Red Hook comic series that was being published on Webtoon, I started writing scripts that were above my pay grade artistically. Meaning, I was like, I'm writing that. Usually, I would write to my art, and I was like, wait, I'm writing
No,
beyond my art. What the hell am
yeah,
I doing here? And then I said I would just take the challenge, and because I had a deadline, and I realized let me just have some fun here. No one's telling me what not to do, right? Basically, and I just faked it. It was actually the idea that I was faking. It wasn't imposter syndrome. It was like I literally am faking this. And so if I say it is, that's what it is, that's what it is, right? Like, and hopefully I can convey it visually what I was trying to, go for.
hmm,
And yeah, you may not be able to draw a body, in a certain way, or what's the standard looking, whatever it's supposed to be. But what you should just do is keep drawing because you'll create your own weird little shorthand to
yeah,
bring it back to Steve Weissman,
mhm,
who knows how to draw, but he also just drew a certain style that's actually really difficult to ape, because it was this like he created this unique signature. So maybe just write a comic that starts off with stick figures, and after a while, it's going to have the kind of eyes you draw,
What's
and the
funny?
nose.
My weird looking eyes. What's funny though? The This weekend I sent you a text of two images I drew, one of Batman and one of the Question. And I don't know, they look better than the ones I've drawn in the past. Like it's such a weird thing. Like I'm like maybe, like thinking about what you're saying now, it's like maybe there's something to it, that like you're right.
I think I even said to you, oh, I wrote to you the first one. Wait, I have it. And I mentioned I said it was a lonely Batman. Oh, you said lonely Batman, and I said I loved it. And then the second one was a question, and I said don't stop. Maybe we can auction off these gems to your favorite charity on our podcast. And I'm actually looking at them right now, so I'm gonna
And I
just for
said,
the sake of the people on the. I don't know
yeah,
if you can see that. That's one of them. That's lonely Batman. And yeah, it is better than you usually draw. And then you did your question, which is actually a hard character to draw because he has no features,
yeah.
you know, and it's hard to draw a hat. I'm sorry, I find it difficult. So yeah, I think if you just don't, you know what, don't care, meaning don't care about what other people think.
Oh, that's exactly what I did. I just drew it just because I was sitting there and I'm like, I want to draw something right now. So I just drew it and like,
And it was great. And yeah, maybe it's hard to draw like recently Whitney, who draws basically faces that talk, with sometimes the occasional background or prop, uh, drew me here. Have I shown this to you? I think it's
maybe.
the first time she's drawn for my birthday. She drew a figure, a full figure, you know, and you just keep evolving and growing. You know, you add to your toolbox by doing it. You just got to do it and not worry about it. Nobody's going to hire you to draw a comic right now, Vito.
Oh no, no. Then they
Just
should.
have fun. Just have fun, you know? So, all right, man. Well, listen, was there anything else on the docket?
No, you know what's funny? I started talking about becoming Led Zeppelin, and I didn't finish my thought.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Talked about my dad, but it's a really interesting story. Like it's about the how they came together as a band and how they put together the first two albums. Um, and like what's funny is like you watch it and one of them is dead, so they had to use like an interview from 1980, right about the time that he died. John Bonham being the drummer. And the other three are still alive, so they get to like, and you see them kind of react to some of the archival footage that they haven't seen because they're
Mm.
in the footage. You know what I mean? Like they were living it, and like they're like, and you see Jimmy Page like watching it, and he's just like, wow, and like there's something, you know, would it be so bad for to grow old as an artist and to finally appreciate your work?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, or
Mhm.
not that others appreciate your work for you, but to finally like look at it and just be like, hey, I did have fun doing that, or I did make something worth it, you know?
So, I and maybe we'll end on this. I remember when I did Immortal, the Billy Dogma story on Activate, and then it might have been it maybe after I did Fear My Dear, the sequel, and then that later got published, and I might try to do a republishing of that. Anyway, I remember thinking for some reason at the time, if I died right now, I'm very proud of this work
Yeah.
right here, Immortal and Fear My Dear, Billy Dogma. Okay, now I've lived beyond that. Okay, and I've done maybe possibly better work. I'm not I hope I hope that I've honed in on what I do a little bit more acutely or something. But um my if you ask me now, Dean, what would you like to be remembered for? I can't answer that because I've done a lot of stuff and I don't know because I sometimes it feels like one day or 1 hour is this or that, and I just don't have that feeling. But so I don't know the answer to my own query. But do you have a specific thing that if you died today, you want to be best known for?
Right there.
Stray, who killed the
I
Doberman?
I said it before and I'll say it again. Had I not been able to do a second miniseries, a third miniseries, had I, perished at some point after that, it would have been fine. Like I
Mm,
said everything I wanted to say with that first one, and I think that it stands. I mean, the only, it just needs more people to read it. That's all.
yep, that's
Like,
it.
and
Get more.
once that happens, like who knows? But I'm very proud of it. I'm very
Yep,
proud of what Sean did. I'm very proud of what Simon and Ross did. John Morris helped us with a lot of the design. Like I'm very proud of the book we put together.
that's awesome.
And your cover on the trade, all the covers that
Yeah.
are within, like I think it's when I put it out, I said it's probably as good, if not better, than any Marvel and DC book on the shelf as it was coming out. And I
Mm-hmm.
stand by that.
That's awesome.
I think
That's
it's wonderful.
awesome. And that was made in the 1950s, right?
No, dude. I was born in 73, so it was made in
Okay.
1965.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I believe it came out around the same time
I
as
got-
Robert Kennedy being shot.
Oh, all
It
right.
came out.
So,
I mean, I made it in 65, but I think it was published. The first one came out the week that Robert Kennedy was shot.
and so that's why
I
nobody
was,
read it because they were busy thinking about that.
yeah,
It's funny because our mutual friend, you remember Tim Hall, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Great writer Tim Hall.
Mhm.
He finally got the headline front page big story for New York Press,
Uh,
and it came out on 9/11.
11. I remember you telling me this.
Anyway, hi Tim Hall, if you're ever listening to this, miss you,
I
man.
well,
All right, well, do we flush toilets on ourselves? I forget.
no, we never do. We're too good for that.
Okay, all right, we're too good.
But happy
All right,
Father's Day,
man.
everybody.
Happy Father's
It
Day.
was my Pride shirt for the week. Uh,
Love it.
so happy Pride Month. Happy birthday to me, I guess.
Happy birthday to you. I guess we'll sing a little happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vito. Happy birthday to you.
Crescendo. Big
Yeah,
finish.
man.
Thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. We appreciate every single one of you. We'll be back next week with episode 25. God dang it.
Now that's a quarter of a
Ooh,
something.
yeah, it's a quarter
I
of
was
it.
almost said century, but I'm not going to do
You're
that.
not, you're not wrong. Quarter of
Yeah,
a
but right. I'm not wrong, but 25 is that a landmark? Is that a
we'll figure that out next week, I think.
yeah? All right, we have a week to think about it.
Yeah, hit him with
All
the
right.
hey, yay, yay.
Yeah, yeah.
Good night, everybody.